Now, when you hear that, it's only one thing, and that's time for We Nation podcast. What's up, everyone? I'm Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be here with you for another season because we got something great for you again. I am so happy to be partnering with my alma mater, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And for the second semester now, we're going to be partnering with them with their diverse books project. Yes, this is sponsored by UMBC's Sherman Center for Early Learning through Urban in urban communities. I always get that last part incorrect, but in urban communities. And this is a project that we started last semester. The Sherman Center has been just gracious to the campus and has helped to initiate this effort to try to change a lot of the learning outcomes that we've seen in schools. And primarily right now, UMBC is working in Baltimore City public schools. And so today we're going to continue with our diverse books project. I need to give a shout out to all the organizers of this particular event. Thank you so much for trusting in us and being letting us be a part of something that's very, very special. Now, first of all, We Nation Radio is what we call the best and family friendly global beats for little feet. It was started by my wife and I in 2017 to really counteract the decades of negative and offensive content that was directed toward black and brown children over the years. But now we have a radio station that provides the best in R&B, hip hop, funk, jazz, reggae, go-go, calypso, and more, all in one location, 24/7, and it's commercial free. And you can find it again on. You can download the app at any time on your phone. Um, on your iPhone or on your Android, just go to We Nation Radio with two E's because We stands for Watoto Entertainment and Education, and Watoto is Swahili for children. So enough of me talking. I know you didn't come here just to hear me talk. I mean, I can talk, but that's not the whole purpose of this. Today, I am so honored to have a guest who reached out to us last semester after hearing about the program and said, I want to share my book with the program. And I told her, I said, well, sure, bring it here, send it to me. I forwarded the information to UMBC, and I didn't hear anything else about it until about a month or so later. And it turned out that her book, our author's book, was one of the top selected books by the teachers participating in this particular program. Our author is Juanita Banks Whittington, the author of I Love My Daddy. She has an organization that we're going to talk about Knee High Cares and Diverse Children's Book Matters. Welcome to the podcast, the one and only Miss Juanita Banks Whittington. Welcome to We Nation Podcast.
Hello, how are you? I'm doing good.
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for joining us. And I've had so much fun going to your site and learning a lot about the work that you do. Tell our audience a little bit about who is Juanita.
That's a hard question sometimes, depending on who you ask. But I am an Army veteran. I'm also a licensed social worker, a new children's book author of I Love My Daddy, and a diversity practitioner. So that's pretty much who I am.
Okay.
And right now, I just started Neha Cares and Diverse Children's Books Matter, just piggybacking off of my experiences growing up from having parents who suffered from mental health issues to incarceration to drug abuse. And I started Neha Cares because of that. But the name came from my grandmother. So her name is actually Juanita too. But
Okay.
they used to call her Little Neha, like the soda back in the day.
Mhm.
And I always called her that. And that's how I got Neha Cares. I wanted to always have something that I can remember her by, but using my mom as an example to be able to show people that it doesn't matter where you come from, you can always do the things you want to do. And there's people out here that can help you get to where you want to be. So that's how Neha Cares came about.
Wow, and this is your grandmother here. And what a
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful story, and sounds like a beautiful soul. that
Yeah.
has guided you all these different years. Now, we're going to talk about pretty much a little bit of everything that you had talked about there. Let's first jump into your children's book, which is what brought you here, and then we're going to really go from there. I Love My Daddy. Talk to us a little bit about what inspired you to write that book.
Yeah. So when I tell you this book has definitely been a blessing, this is my husband Ian and my daughter Zuri. And when my husband, when we first had Zuri, he was like, I want to read to her. I want to have certain things, and I want our relationship to look a certain way. So every night he reads to her, and he kept telling me, I'm not seeing any diverse fathers in the books that I'm reading to her. And he kept telling me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write a book. And it's going to be about a little girl and her father and the things that they do together. So that's kind of how I got the idea. It was from him. He just kept telling me what he didn't see. And I wanted to make sure that when I wrote this book, I did it right and I portrayed fathers in the light that they needed to be portrayed in, because there's so many fathers out here that are good fathers, but they only get highlighted during Father's Day.
Mm.
And for me growing up, I didn't meet my father till I was 19. So it really means a lot that my daughter has someone that she can say, he supports me, he's there with me, he does all of these things with me, and they have a positive relationship.
I Love My Daddy, written by Juanita Banks Whittington. This book is dedicated to my daughter Zuri. It shows the love and joy she has for her dad. Whenever my husband read to our daughter, few stories showed a father's involvement in children of diverse backgrounds and lives. I Love My Daddy is for those fathers and children.
I love my daddy. He gives me hugs and kisses when he wakes me up. I love my daddy. He helps me make mommy's tea in the morning. I love my daddy. He helps me put on my sparkly boots. I love my daddy. He takes me outside to blow bubbles. I love my daddy. He gives me candy when mommy says no. I love my daddy. He lets me eat food off his plate. I love my daddy. We play with my favorite toys. I love my daddy. He always reads a book to me before bedtime. I love my daddy. He hugs and kisses me and mommy goodnight.
I Love My Daddy is a heartwarming children's book about the special bond between a little girl and her father. It follows a day in the life of a little girl and her daddy. Produced for audiobook by NGB Productions.
Narrated by me, Ramona Young.
And narrated by me, the Queen Bee, Angie B.
And the book has some beautiful illustrations. Who did the illustrations?
Yeah, so the individual that I hired to do my illustrations is Atana Mahanta. He's out of India. And I saw him online because he's done a lot of illustrations for children's books.
Mm,
And I reached out after getting scammed along the way from someone that was trying to use his work.
yeah.
But, it was more than what I wanted to spend. but my husband said, "You get what you pay for."
N-
And I was like, "You know what? I'm going to take this leap of faith. I'm going to get the illustrations done." And he was able to give me everything that I was looking for. And I'm excited. I'm so excited that so many people are like, "I love this. It's colorful. I can relate." It just really warms my heart. It really
Sure,
does.
absolutely. Well, I saw part of your book where you indicated where that your daughter said, "I love my daddy because he gives me candy when mommy doesn't want me to have it."
Yes, when
I like
mommy says no, yes.
I thought that was funny, and way to go, Dad. I love that. um,
Yeah.
but so you wrote the book, and it seems like it's been received very well. I've seen interviews of you on local and national programs and all. How has that been? Talk a little bit about how far you've gone since you've published the book.
Yeah, so I pretty much published in May of this year. And when I tell you, I didn't think I would be here. I started getting all of these people reaching out to me. I started writing in. I was able to be on the news. Like that was so exciting. It was on the whim. It was just like, "Oh, you got an interview on Friday." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I was able to be in the Baltimore and Annapolis Times, pretty much writing about purposeful parenting, which was totally separate than the children's book, but it just allowed me to get out in front of so many more people that I would have never thought that I would have been able to reach. So
Yeah.
I'm excited, honestly.
Yeah. Now, other than the fact that I know you are writing about a relationship between a daughter and a father, why do you think that this book really has resonated with so many people?
I think because it's relatable
Okay.
and it's showing fathers in a positive light, especially for individuals that are diverse, because a lot of times we're not shown as if we're competent, or we're not shown that we're there in our children's lives. So this shows it. As you can see in my book, I'm there, but the highlight of the book is their relationship. I'm
Yes.
in the background, or I may be saying no to certain things, but it's all about them. So I think that for me, people are like, "Oh my goodness, this is awesome. It's colorful. It's people that don't look like me, or they do look like me, and I can relate to the things that they're doing in the book." Because when I tell you, I get so many people of various nationalities like, "Oh, I have to have this book." And they fight over the book. Took my daughter to music class. They in the class
Mhm.
fighting over the book because one of the other little girls been reading it every night. So I'm like, "No, here's an extra one." I didn't want the kids to fight, but it just shows you that even them pointing out, they're like, "Oh, I do these things with my mommy and my daddy." So I just love it. It just has allowed me to really, because I'm nervous, right?
Mhm.
I'm always nervous about being in front of people.
Mhm.
So this has definitely brought me out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
It has allowed me to meet so many different people within Maryland and even in other states. Like I'm literally leaving on Saturday to go to West Palm Beach to a literacy event gala. And I'm so excited about it, and to be able to meet some of the people down there, from senators to, it's a nonprofit called Grow Lit, and just the things that they're doing and getting even my book out there so kids can be able to see diversity, especially with all of the things going on in Florida right now. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned about Florida, and I will touch on that a little bit in terms of. Well, let me ask you, as a parent and as a black parent, and the whole banning of books, what's your perspective on that? I mean, I know we're talking about your book, but how do you deal with that, or how do you address that as a parent? Where do you stand with that? I mean, um, how do you and your husband kind of reconcile the whole issue of banning books, or what is your perception of it?
Yeah, so my daughter, she'll be 3 next month, so she really doesn't know. But for me personally, I feel that no book should be banned, but it should be an organization's choice to say, you know what, I decide not to bring that into where I am because of what it may be portraying. But I don't think any book should be banned at
Mhm.
all, because what's being portrayed in that book might have helped someone, or even if it was five people along the way, you can't ban that for everyone
Sure.
because you don't agree with it.
Thank you for that. And you indicated that your both your parents were victims of emotional abuse, were incarcerated. Talk a little bit about that and the impact that it had on you being a parent now.
Yeah, so for me, my mom, she used drugs when she was pregnant with me and my siblings. And just being born, having that in my system affected me in so many ways for a long time. I had to take speech therapy. I still say certain things, and certain words I still can't pronounce. But to be where I am, I'm so blessed. And, I know my mom, she's passed away now, but all of the things that she taught me, it's been a blessing, and every day I use those tools that's beneficial for me, and that's just makes the foundation of who I am. But as far as my father, we don't really have a relationship, and I don't care to have a relationship, but I want to make sure that with my family, my daughter knows that, you know what, my father's there. He's always going to support me, and I have somebody, my mom, my dad. I have those two individuals that's going to always have my back.
Mhm.
So that's
Okay.
how I look at it.
Thank you for sharing and sharing that information. And yeah, it's a lot that we deal with in society, and it sounds like you've navigated it very well. We can't always choose our circumstances, but we can choose how we deal with it. So I love how
Exactly.
you've done it, and you've done so. Again, gravitating to that which has been positive. That's your grandmother. So let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about your company, Knee High Cares. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Neha Cares started back in 2018. So when I first started that, it was to provide safe and affordable housing for individuals in need who may be suffering from mental health issues, substance abuse, and even incarceration. So I had a few properties in Baltimore City, did that for a while, and then COVID happened. So with COVID, I was like, you know what? I'm selling these properties, got rid of them. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do next with Neha Cares? Because I was kind of using it a little bit when I was doing private practice for my social work degree. And I was like, you know what? That's not what I want to do either. It's too much dealing with even part time, just dealing with individuals individually doing therapy. So last year in October for my birthday, I took pictures, didn't know what I was going to do. In January of 2023, I rebranded Neha Cares to pretty much be a wellness and diversity and inclusion education consulting company. So that's
Mm,
kind of where I'm at now. So right
wow.
now, I'm just in the process of trying to get my information out there, talking about, the foundations of wellness. Is not just about mental health, it's about your physical, your emotional, the different relationships that you may have with people outside of work, because diversity just doesn't happen at work. It's how you are in your ecosystem as well. So for me, my thing is just providing like that basic overview of education of why wellness matters and diversity.
Wonderful. I know. Uh, I love. Well, first of all, for those that are listening, if you want to visit her site, it's spelled NEHI Cares, NEHI Cares.com, and that's how Nehi is presented. And so you have kind of done a lot in this, with this organization. And you and I both have in common EEO, or what is called
Yeah.
equal employment opportunity or equal opportunity. I've been in the field for over 25 years as an investigator, a trainer. I had to have done easily 1,000 investigations for the federal and local entities. What's your background specifically in EEO?
Yeah, so when I got out the military in 2016, I went right into the federal government. So I worked in Social Security for a little bit. I didn't like it there. And then I went to USDA in DC, and I was pretty much in civil rights compliance. So I was dealing with policy work, I was dealing with just different complaints for employment and um, complaints as far as with like rural development as well. So I did that for 3 years in DC. And then I came up to Maryland on Fort Meade and I started working for the Department of Defense doing like equal opportunity work. And then this March, I was put into a diversity role. And for that, it's just me and my supervisor standing up the diversity office for the entire agency.
And I can only imagine what you have to go through when it comes to diversity, depending on who's in office, because that's the big issue. If one party is in, you have some support, but when others, it isn't. But there you go. But you had mentioned all those departments. I've investigated for Social Security. I've
Yeah,
done both Title VI and Title VII
yeah.
investigations for
A lot of people
USDA.
don't know about SITS, the
Ah, yes.
program and employment. So
Well,
I worked in both,
yes.
and it's very interesting being in compliance when you're
Mhm.
reading up on all of these things that might have happened 10 years ago that they're still tracking. And then you're making phone calls and they still didn't do the things.
That's right.
So being in policy definitely was interesting.
Yeah.
Another role that I had when I was working with USDA was like when the food stamp laws changed, any type of change to regulations, we had to read those and do a civil rights analysis to say, hey, how this will impact whatever group. So that was very
Yes.
interesting because it kind of forced you to read these 200 and 300 page policy changes.
Yeah.
And just even, with USDA, you have rural development, you have all of these other agencies, you got your food, you got, your housing, you have all of these different organizations that are making changes. And
Mhm.
then you start seeing stuff about people land. I remember going to a meeting and they had tribes that were there, and they were like, well, you guys put this road through our land and we're trying to get stuff back. And it's like, you see stuff online, but when you actually work with it hand in hand, you're like, oh wow, it hits different. So for me, I really, really enjoyed the policy side of it. And then going into diversity, where I was dealing with a lot of, the employee resource groups and doing more of um, the um, the annual reports, and even going into now where me and my supervisor is trying to stand up this office. It's just the two of us. We're requesting information from offices, and the biggest thing is we have to collaborate with individuals. And some people are like, well, I don't believe in this and I don't believe in that.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and just so that people will know what we're talking about when we say Title VI and Title VII, these are two of the, I forgot how many total there are, but underneath the 1964 Civil Rights Act, there are different titles, and Title VII focuses on employment discrimination, and there are probably, they've added some now. I can't remember the total of them, but race, color, national origin, age over 40, religion, genetic information. It's a number of issues that you cannot be discriminated against in employment. Title VI, as you just mentioned, is for you can't be discriminated in programs that are issued by the federal government. So, like you said, food stamps or bus stops or farm. And
Yes.
so the one case I've done for the USDA was a black farmer was saying that they were being discriminated against and being denied the resources that they need for for their job. So that was just amazing to really go through that process and see how that works. But so I'm glad and congratulations for being in this work because it's very important, very important. So let's go back to even when you're talking about with diversity, and
Mhm.
you have another site, your it's called Diversity Children's Books Matters.
Yes.
Talk about the relationship between the work that that you've come to in terms of diversity and you starting this particular entity.
Yeah, so once I created the book, I still, I had knee high cares, and I was like, man, how can I kind of separate this, but I don't really know what I want to do with it yet. So I ended up doing a DBA, doing business ads, and I created Diverse Children's Books Matter, kind of until I figure out what I want to do with it. So the book, which is I Love My Daddy, I used as the publisher for I Love My Daddy under that. Diverse Children's Books Matter. So for me, this is just going to be a business that I'm putting out information. I'm only putting out books. So I don't plan to like have like a true publishing company. You see all the things I have on my plate already. I
Mhm.
don't really have time to do that. But I'm really excited about it. For me right now, I'm just trying to create books that little girls and little boys can see themselves in it. And, the next book is not going to be about a little girl. I want it to be about a little boy. So I'm going to switch it up. I also want people to understand that when you say diverse, people always think of, okay, a black person, but diverse is going to be Hispanic children in the book, Indian children in the book. So I want people to kind of understand that a lot of times we always are like, oh, I want to create these diverse books, but we only are creating books for what we look like. But I want
Yes.
to create books that have other characters that show other cultures as well. So
Yes.
that's one of my things that I want to promote.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, you got children and disabilities, you got different, and the issue of diversity can be different height, different
Yeah.
weight, different. I mean, so many individual characteristics. Some wear glasses, some don't. So you're right. Diversity is much broader than what the perception is out here. And for those that are just tuning in, I'm Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist. You're tuned into We Nation podcast, part of the We Nation Reads program. And this is We Nation Reads with UMBC's Diverse Books Project. And our guest is Juanita Banks Whittington, author of I Love My Daddy and the founder of Knee High Cares and Diverse Children's Books Matters .com. And you mentioned that you come to us from the military, and I want to also ask you about that experience there. Did you find that you had similar issues of diversity, or not necessarily a lack of diversity, or issues of EEO while there in the military?
Yeah, so I was in the Maryland National Guard, but I was in their active guard program. So it was kind of like I was still active duty, but I only stayed in Maryland and I went to different locations. So when I did that, I was in for 11 years. I was in human resources and I learned a lot while I was in, but I also learned that discrimination is everywhere. So when you talk about EEO in the military looks totally different as EEO as a federal employee. A lot of people are more skeptical and scared to even file anything in the military because it may not go past, the supervisor or the commander. And compared to in the federal government, you go straight to the EEO office and they have to do something. Stuff really isn't swept under the rug like it is in the military.
Yeah. And I guess even from your perspective, as a parent, one of the things that I'm passionate about is making sure that we have enough resources to go into our communities. You mentioned the substance abuse that your parents went through, a number of different issues, but there's so many people that are dealing with mental health issues, but it
Yeah.
seems to not be enough resources going to that. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is decreasing the amount of resources that are going to the military. I mean, right now it's almost close to $1 trillion a year. It's over $800 billion. I'm not sure what your position is on that, but what have you seen in terms of have you come to recognize any type of um, need of more money going into the field of social work from the civilian standpoint?
Yeah, so social work is underserved, underpaid. Social workers don't get paid enough, just like school teachers don't get paid enough. But as far as the military, from my experience and some individuals around me, I know a lot of people are not seeking help, mental health services while they're in. They're waiting until they get out because of fear. Hey, I may not get promoted, or hey, they may put a target on my back, on my security clearance while you're in the military. But once you get out, I go to the VA in Baltimore and you see so many veterans with so many issues. And it's like, dang, maybe if they could have felt more comfortable seeing somebody when they were in, maybe they wouldn't be in the place that they are now. So there definitely is need for an increase in pay for social workers, and there's also a need for more policy that makes it okay for active duty military to seek services in while they're in, so that they're not, blackballed or not feeling like, man, if I say something, I'm going to be judged.
Mm, wow. You know what? I never thought about it that way. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that.
Yeah.
And you have is it you have your bachelor's or master's in
I
social
have my
work?
master's. I'm a licensed master social worker, so I
Okay.
don't have my clinical license, which will allow me to do clinical work alone if I was doing private practice, but
Mhm.
it still allows me to educate individuals.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
So in terms of your books, what do you have coming next?
Look, I hear that all the time. So,
Or do you have anything coming next? Yes.
so I have been, writing, and I'm trying to write something around a little boy or little boys with their father. But I have so many things that I'm trying to do right now. I'm my own publicist, I'm my own everything. So right now, I think that I'm going to take a break and kind of clear my head, because what I don't want to do is create junk. And anything that I put out, I want it to be something that people are like, oh my gosh, this was needed. I love it. I can relate to it. So for me, I'll probably have something maybe next year or so. But right now, I'm not in a rush, because I still have so many things that I want to do with even Neha Cares. And last night, I went to a mental health event, and, I saw a panel of people, and I even got up there and pitched, right? And that taught me that I got more work to do, because I didn't know I was going to pitch. I'm like, oh, I have my elevator speech. Man, I got up there and I wasn't ready, but I was able to still present. But it showed me, you know what? I have work to do. You can do it. And I'm just going to keep going up from here.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to work to get more money, for my businesses, because right now I'm funding everything myself.
Oh,
So
great. Well, I commend you for doing that. And it's certainly a marathon, not a sprint. And there are resources. I don't know if you've considered going the route of becoming a certified business in the state of Maryland. I know the Uncle Devin show is here in DC, and we're a certified business, and it really puts you in a different category. Now, people, you get access to more opportunities when you do that, and so hopefully you're moving in that particular direction. And
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I am labeled as a disabled veteran-owned business through SBA,
Yes.
and I have to finish my application for the MBE for Maryland. So I am working on it, but I just have so many things that I'm trying to do that it's kind of been on my back list. Because, like, even right now, I'm in a 9-month leadership program for work that ends
Mhm,
in February. I'm
mhm.
just finishing a 60-day detail the end of this week. So when I tell you I'm multitasking, plus having a family, I am
Yeah.
definitely multitasking because I literally have just gotten off from having writer's block.
Mhm,
So I'm kind of like, you know what? I feel good now. Let me,
mhm.
get my stuff together. I'm gonna take the winter, and next year I'm gonna come back strong.
That's it. Well, no, take your time. Then don't put no deadline or timeline on anything. I'm both a book author, a children's book author, and a musician, and so I have an idea of when I may want to do another album, but I don't put that pressure on myself to
That's
have it
good
out
to
by a
know.
certain time. And the other thing is, it took my wife and I probably 17, 18 months to get certified officially through DC, but it was because we were so busy, like you. We just said we just had to get to it when we get to it. That's
Yeah.
just it. So you can get through it as fast as you want or as fast as you can, but I just say be realistic, and when it's supposed to happen, it will happen.
Well, you want to know what the funny thing is? I
Mhm,
have all of the documents.
mhm.
I just have to finish completing and typing up everything and get stuff notarized.
Yep.
So it's like I have everything, but I'm over here, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm doing so many different things. Then my daughter, I got to pick her up from school at 5 o'clock. So I'm like,
Yep. No.
so I'm doing all these 50 million things and still trying to be present for certain things as well. So it makes it hard, but I'm gonna get there. I'm
Well,
not pressed because I'm really not in the place to get some of the contracts. Like I get a few
exactly.
messages and stuff, and I'm like, oh, that looks tempting, but
Mhm.
am I really ready? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, because I literally just started working on my content for Neha Cares to do a training. But
Absolutely.
like I said, I just started launching everything at the same time in January.
Wow.
So, yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
so I've been busy and then the book came out in May. So, I've been really busy with that and just I'm still on my high from various interviews. Like recently Tabitha Brown read my book on her Very Good Mondays, which was a blessing. I
Wow.
started getting people sending me messages like, "Oh my gosh, I saw you on Tabitha's show. How did you do that?" So, she read my entire book and it felt so good. So, of course, I have that on my website
Of
showing
course.
that.
I
And
saw it. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So, I'm really excited about all of that. And I have a virtual assistant as well. So, she's kind of helping me out
Mhm.
because when I tell you, I wouldn't have been able to do half of the stuff that I'm
Right.
doing.
Well, that's the good thing. And again, just take it one day at a time, but you probably more so than anyone else understand the importance of having a balance so that you won't be stressed. And
Yeah.
so, and that's the most important thing. And so I want to end with this. But we don't have to rush to the ending of it. As a social worker, as a mother, um, what advice would you have for parents of a 3, 4, 5 year old? What are things that they can do to help prepare their child and keep their children in good mental health?
Man, that's a good one. All I can say is being mindful of what's going on with your child, like what their needs are, and not trying to compare them to others. Because in society, we're like, well, Billy over here is doing things this way, and this is the way my child should be doing things. But it's not always that way. You have to meet you, yourself, and your kids where they are. So as far as mental health, just educating them, telling them it's okay to express their feelings, and just trying to we rework our brain of our expectations versus reality. Because when
Mm,
I tell you terrible twos has been horrible, and I had to rework patience because I thought I was patient sometimes, but no, it's
mm,
different with the little ones,
yeah.
totally different. So just not beating myself up as much and just trying to educate. That's all I can really tell people.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. There's so many different ways that you can, like I say, you can address that question. And I would just say, don't take away the innocence of childhood.
That's true
Um,
too.
let them play. And you don't always have to buy them anything. Let them go
Mhm.
outside and take a stick and figure it out. And that stick becomes a magic wand, a tree, a broom, a pencil, or whatever it may be. But also, one of the things that my wife and I have done was created We Nation Radio, because just like what you're doing with children's books, obviously most people won't give a child an adult book.
Mhm.
Many people won't give a child alcohol. But when it
Mhm.
comes to the music our children listens to, we act like we don't even care, and we don't realize that there's a harm when they're listening to content that's not appropriate for their age. So we created We Nation Radio as an alternative, so that we can eradicate music adultification, so that a child can stay a child. And so your book is very important. The work that you're doing with Knee High Cares, with the diverse children's book, um, matters project is so important. And congratulations again for being selected, your book being selected by the teachers, in the Baltimore City schools, and being a part of the diverse books project. We're so glad that you're here with us, and we wish you nothing but continued success.
Yeah, it really means a lot. Like I said before, I never thought that I would be here. So it feels so good that, people are even reaching out to me now all the time. Oh, I saw that you do this. Oh, can you talk to me about that? And I'm like, sure. Do you mind? I'm driving to pick up the little one. I'll talk to you on my way to pick her up. But it just really means a lot that so many people are able to relate to my book. Even my daughter, she pretty much, the minute she saw her father on the book, she's like, "Oh, daddy."
I
And
didn't
then,
think about that. Yeah.
yeah, and then when I was getting the illustrations back, she didn't really um see the little girl as her. But now she's like, oh, that's daddy, that's Zuri, that's mommy, that's Ivy, because our dog is in the book as well.
Okay.
So it's just like, wow. She
That's
just,
impressive.
she just brings a light to me,
Yes.
and just to see her pick up the book, and I gave a copy to her class because, well, I went to her class and read, and now they're all like, "Oh, Zeri's mom is here," and I always talk to the kids, and I ended up giving them a book for their classroom, and they was fighting over the book. I'm like, man, I can't give everybody a book now.
Uh, oh, that's great. That is great.
Yeah, it
Uh,
feels really, really good. It
Well,
really
good.
does.
Well, again, congratulations for all the success that you have. We wish you much, much more. And if ever we can be of any service to you here at We Nation Radio and We Nation Reads, just let us know.
Yeah, I definitely will let you know. I really appreciate everything.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you all for everyone that has taken some time to take a listen. You've been listening to an interview with Juanita Banks Whittington, author of I Love My Daddy. And again, this is part of the UMBC Sherman Center's Diverse Books Project, the Sherman Center for Early Learning in Urban Communities. To find out more, you can go to umbc.com, and I think we do have their site. Okay, we'll post it up here. But for those that are listening on the radio, you can go to shermancenter.umbc.edu /diverse books project. And so, and if when in doubt, you can also go to any of our websites. Go to We Nation Radio. You can click on the links. We have information that's there. You can also go to wenationradio.com. So again, thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm so honored. I'm so glad to be back here with you today. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Jennifer Mata McMahon, who again, is the head of this project at UMBC. And we want to thank you for giving us another opportunity to be a part of this wonderful project. I got to get out of here. Again, I'm Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist. And as I always say, just remember, life is a drum, so beat it.